The next topic is gender differences in conversation. The study of gender differences in conversation is a very wide area which is primarily concerned with number of different conversational variables. The gender differences have more to do with the cultural norms and cultural aspect of any language phenomena. Reason is that the role of women in conversation, how it is different from that of men, is basically determined by the social and cultural norms which are prevalent in different societies. So a lot of research has been conducted and it has been seen that sometimes men take a more dominating role in a conversation. A research in investigating how men and women converse with one another and each other found that some of principles, especially taking turn for instance, may operate somewhat differently in male and female conversation than in the same gender. Now, it is not only the taking of turns which have been seen as causing some differences. With regard to other areas also, Zimmerman's research shows that men interrupt or overlap women more frequently than women do. And it has been also observed that they carry further the topic with a lot of ease and minimal effort than women, because when they are carrying a topic which they have introduced, they have to make more effort and they have to ask for more attention. Again, another area which has been seen and have been observed with the findings from Zimmerman's study has been proposed that men are more assertive with regard to their body gestures or body movements. So in the areas of interrupting, overlapping or carrying topics forward with minimal efforts and the movement of their hands and body gestures, men have been seen as being more dominant and enjoying more prominence in any conversation. We have to keep this in mind that all these norms and social rules vary culture to culture. Even in our culture, we have seen that women tend to take more submissive role when they are in a set of any conversation. It is observed. Anyways, all these studies are not conclusive, since these studies vary culture to culture and all the social norms which are cultural specific. So we have to look at the dynamics under those cultural or social norms. Now we will look at some of the points which are there in terms of explaining the gender differences. It's been observed that a substantial research has been conducted to investigate the question of whether there are gender differences in conversational processes or not. Historically, this study started in 1970s and still continued, and we have seen Sachs and his colleagues first in 1974 claim that we have several rules for holding conversations, including those that involves turn taking. They suggest that these rules minimize the degree of conflict between participants. Then we have Zimmerman in 1975, who examined whether these rules hold equally well for conversation between men and women, as opposed to those with either just women or just men. Now, they tape recorded and transcribed conversations in natural settings such as coffee shops and drugstores, etc. They identified 3 speech behaviors of interest. One is overlaps, second is interruptions, and the third is minimal responses. Overlaps were defined as periods of simultaneous speech during the last word of speaker's projected closing. Overlaps appear to be consistent with the seconds of Sachs and colleagues' rules. because the first speaker or first person to speak during a silence gains the floor, there is an incentive to be quick. Interruptions were defined as period of simultaneous speech more than one word before the speaker's projected completion point. Zimmerman and West saw interruptions as violations of the speaker's turn. They also discussed minimal responses, which were remarks such as ha, oh. These were not viewed as interruptions, but rather as listeners' display of interest in speaker's topic. In their initial study, Zimmerman and West found that 96% of the interruptions were by male speaker. 10 of the 11 males interrupted at least once. In contrast, interruptions were less frequent and were symmetrically distributed in the same gender conversation. A second major result was that many of the responses by males or females topic were delayed minimal responses, in which a delay of several seconds occurred before the listener's minimal responses. Zimmerman and West conclude that men deny equal status to women as conversational partners with respect to the rights to the full utilization of their turns and support for the development of topic. Then we have Lakoff's study, in which he argued that women's speech differ in number of aspects from men's speech, claiming that women's speech contains more linguistic expressions of uncertainty than men's speech does. Women tend to use tag questions such as, "It is awfully cold here, isn't it?" and hedges such as, "sort of, I guess, kind of." So Fishman in 1978 analyzed conversation of male and female couples and found that women used more questions attention-getting devices, for example, "this is interesting," and minimal responses than men. Fishman concluded that women do the bulk of the interactional work in conversations with men, and that is different, reflects the power which is not symmetrical between men and women. So these are some of the gender differences that have been observed in the substantial research that has been conducted so far. Conversational settings shape conversational processes. Some studies of gender difference reveal that males speak more and interrupt more than females.